All right, good morning, Diamond Hill Jarvis teachers and staff. My name is Ms. Kunkel and I am the intervention specialist here in case I haven't gotten to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time to complete this training this morning. I am super technologically challenged, so I'm gonna give this one shot of doing a screen recording of this presentation. It's not gonna be perfect, but we will get through. I'm gonna try and make it quick and painless. Additionally, this is a heavy topic, and if it is something that you are struggling with or need help for, there are resources and suicide hotlines at the end of the presentation, but do not hesitate to reach out if you need to talk or need any more assistance. So we have a very important role as staff in a high school campus to support our students and to reduce the risk of suicide on our campus. So there's kind of 6 main steps that we're going to go over in this presentation of how we can do that. We need to understand how suicide prevention fits into our role as a teacher or school staff. We need to identify students who may be at risk for suicide. We can look for signs of immediate risk, respond to students who may be at risk of suicide, be prepared to respond to a suicide death, or support your colleagues and take care of yourself. So I think it's important to know the facts to understand how important and how relevant this is for us. About 2,877 young people ages 13 to 19, so our population, die by suicide each year. That was from the CDC in 2017. And approximately 1 in 6 high school students seriously consider attempting suicide. In 2018, that was reported. 1 in 13 high school students attempt suicide 1 or more times. And suicide is preventable. So I think the more that we learn and the more we understand how we can support our students and prevent it, the more successful we will be as a campus at preventing suicide. It is important to understand how suicide prevention fits into our role as school staff. As a teacher or as a school professional, you have an important role in preventing suicide. You're in a position to notice what students say, do, and write and take action when you think they might be at risk of self-harm. You're in a position to foster the emotional well-being of students. And yes, this is pretty complicated right now in a virtual world, but there's many ways to still foster a sense of community and safety within the confines of a virtual classroom. You are well positioned to promote a feeling of connectedness and belonging in your classroom communities, virtual or in person. Connectedness has been shown to be related to a reduction in suicidal thoughts. So super important. If you need ideas of how to promote connectedness and safety in your virtual classrooms, feel free to reach out to me and I would love to help you. Number 2 is to identify students who may be at risk. So it's really important to understand the prevalent risk factors that students that are at a higher risk of suicide might display. So these could be mental health disorders, substance use disorders, access to a means to kill oneself. So that could be prescription medication, lethal weapons, if they have previous suicide attempts or attempt, if they have a family history of suicide or mental health problems, if they have a history of childhood abuse, neglect, or trauma, and if they have been exposed to or witnessed the suicide of another person, so a friend, a peer, just anyone, if they've witnessed that. Or stressful life circumstances, which we know so many of our kids are going through right now, especially right now. And we're in a complicated position where we're not with them in person every day. So it's super important to keep in mind what you do know about your students in their past and the signs and symptoms that they display in your virtual classrooms. So number 3 is look for signs of immediate risk. So the following warning signs may indicate a young person is at risk of suicide. So talking about or making plans for suicide, expressing hopelessness about the future, displaying severe emotional pain or distress, displaying worrisome behavioral changes or cues. And this could be withdrawal or a change in social connections, changes in sleep, either more or less sleep, anger or hostility that seems out of character or context, increased agitation or irritability. And I would also add there changes in eating habits, which I know we don't see a ton of our kids' eating habits, but if you do have a kid talk to you about that, say they're eating a lot more or a lot less, that's an important warning sign as well. Number 4 is know how to respond to a student who may be at risk of suicide. If you do notice any of these signs in a student of immediate risk, do not leave them alone. Make sure they are in a secure environment, supervised by a caring adult until they can be seen by a school mental health contact. So that would either be me, maybe the nurse, our counselors, our APs, or principal. Ensure that the student is escorted to the school mental health contact. So make sure someone walks them down there. Don't let them go by themselves if they are in immediate danger. Provide any additional information to the school's mental health contact that would assist in accurately assessing the student. So any background information, anything that they might have said that was concerning, or just different signs that they display, that would be helpful for us in assessing how at risk the student is. Offer support, understanding, and compassion. Make sure to remind that student that you are a safe person and that they can express what they're feeling to you and trust you with that information. And take talk of suicide seriously, and don't be afraid to use the word suicide. Even if it's a kid that might be joking around, or that's kind of their go-to, they're the class clown, and they kind of just make a slight suicide joke, do take it seriously. And when you're talking to kids and asking them about that, don't be afraid to say, hey, are you thinking of suicide? Don't be afraid to say that word. There's no correlation between saying the word and the risk going up. It's important to say the word and put it out into the universe, and have the kid feel seen and heard in that. Number 5 is be prepared to respond to a suicide death, which hopefully we won't have to do this year at any point. But if it does happen, this can affect students in a vast way. And so suicide or violent or unexpected death of a classmate, teacher, community member, or even a celebrity can increase the risk of suicide of already vulnerable young people. Being prepared to respond appropriately to events that might put students at risk is part of our role as school staff. Closely monitor students who may be at higher risk of committing suicide. And talk about the suicide openly and matter-of-factly, while making sure to respect the privacy of the student and the family, in order to reduce confusion and misinformation. But on the same token, avoid going too much into detail or glamorizing the death. And then lastly, I wanted to add that it's so important for us to support our colleagues and take care of ourselves. We kind of forget that sometimes our colleagues can be at risk of suicide too. And if you do notice these same signs in a colleague, assist them in getting help. We are offered benefits through the Employee Assistance Program as employees of the district, and they do provide free confidential assistance with personal life problems. So I included where you can view our benefits, and then the toll-free numbers that you can call, as well as our registration code. So they will help you with a variety of personal problems, including substance abuse, legal problems, emotional stressors, marital problems, etc. And then I also wanted to make sure and include the hotline numbers to make sure you have them on hand if students need them or if you need them. So we have the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We have the Suicide Prevention Lifeline in Spanish as well, because that is very important. And then we also have the Lifeline chat, which is a 24/7 free chat box that kids or adults can use. In the crisis text line, you can just text 741-741, text hello to that, and someone will respond via text. And then if we have students that identify as LGBTQ, the Trevor Project Lifeline is also included there specifically for them if they would like that. And I believe that's it, but I'm also going to include a couple more resources. Please take a minute to look over them, post them in your classroom. These are critical, important resources that could save a life to have readily available for your students. If you have any concerns about a student, please never hesitate to reach out and let me know, especially our virtual students. I'm happy to reach out to them and make contact with them and support them. If you can complete the Google form to indicate that you completed this training and that you watched the whole thing, that would be awesome. And print out the attached resources and make them visible in your classroom. Thank you so much again, and y'all have a great day.